One, you're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and we start our Thursday show with a grain market outlook from K-State grain economist Dan O'Brien. Dan, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Shelby.
Dan, on Monday, June 30th, we've got a couple of USDA reports and wanting to talk through those today and beginning with the USDA acreage report.
Yes, the acreage numbers came out with some shaving off, moving lower of both U.S. corn and soybean acres. And although it wasn't talked about a lot by market analysts, important to us in the Western Corn Belt is that grain sorghum acres also were shaved down some. Uh, Corn acres were projected at 95.2 million, 95.2 95 million 203,000 acres, down from 95,350,000 acres that had been the estimate that came out of the end of March prospective plantings report. So, by the time you take that through the U.S. corn supply demand balance sheet, you do see some impacts on things. We'll come back to that in a minute. The soybean numbers down just a little bit. The March 31st numbers out of that prospective plantings report by the USDA, 83.495 million acres, 83 million acres, 495,000. That shaved down about 115,000 acres down to 83 million 380,000 acres. So, not neither of those are 1 or 2 million acre drops, but enough to shave things down closer on supply demand balance sheets. And again, we'll talk about both corn and soybeans later on. On the grain sorghum numbers, we did see that 6.2 million acres projected for grain sorghum plantings, and that's down from about 395. Well, I guess that's right, 395,000 acres in from what we had expected before. So interesting to watch that and see how that might affect things with I think in the sorghum supply demand balance sheet, we're more concerned about re-energizing trade and getting grain sorghum moving than we are the acreage figure. But still, that does have an impact. 30 40 million bushels on production, depending on what we find in for a size of crop this year. The cotton number actually from that was the one major crop where we saw a large increase in acres over and above what we had expected in the March 31st report. In March on March 31st, we projected 9.8 well 9.867 million acres of cotton to be planted. Ended up at 10.12 million acres. So somewhat of an increase. Both those are down sharply from year ago at 11.2. So did see that. And really in terms of what the USDA highlighted, and I think what the market has picked up on is that, again, the corn numbers, although down, are still the third highest planted acres in the U.S. since 1944. Again, strong usage base, ethanol, now strong exports, livestock feeding going pretty well. Also, wet corn milling, all that. Still, we plug that into the U.S. corn supply demand balance sheet, and by the time that by my own calculations, if we don't change any of the supply demand numbers in the upcoming July 11th WASDE reports, other than these the acreage figures, well, we move ourselves down to instead of the latest projection on the June 12th report of about pardon me, that at about I believe for corn, we projected 1.75 billion bushels. Now that number would be down to about 1.63. So still, we're not down into that 1.3, 1.4 billion bushel figure that where you'd really start to worry in the market. We see a lot more volatility, but again, all those numbers are based on this high 181 bushel per acre scenario the USDA has plugged in right now, and we'll see if we get to that. Anything other than that, 179, 181, you're down let's say you get 179 bushels per acre, record high. You're sitting at 1.5 plus billion bushels. Corn price is a lot different. So again, just as you and I've talked about, the next 60, 90 days will really tell the tale on whether we stay at low corn prices or move higher. On the stocks report, we didn't see any major changes. Corn actually very much in line with pre-report expectations, 4.644 billion bushels on June 30th. What's noteworthy to me is on June 1st last year, we were just under 5 billion bushels, and here we're coming in at 4.6. So we're a little bit tighter than we were again. Not much happening for corn prices, although yesterday we did see a move to the higher side, about a dime or so 8, 9, 10 cents for corn. The soybean number actually came in a little bit above the stocks number for June 30th at just a little over a billion bushels, and we were expecting the expectations were for about 980 million, and here we came in at 1.008 billion. So not a lot of difference there. Still exports and other factors at play all that much more. That final yield is the big thing. And compared to a year ago, we were at 970 million bushels. Now we're at 1.08. I haven't talked much about wheat yet, in that the pre-report estimates for wheat, for U.S. wheat, were to have about 836 million bushels as would be the June 1st number. Well, and what's important to me in my thinking is that June 1st is the beginning of that market year. So basically, we're setting the ending stocks and beginning stocks. Pardon me, for this marketing year. And last year we were at just under 700 million. This year, now we have an official number of 851 million. So 150 million more bushels to deal with over last year. And again, you're in this situation where the wheat market generally has moved lower. I was looking at the numbers over the last month or so, last 2 or 3 months. Pretty strong downtrend in wheat market. Of course, harvest approaching. Wheat exports just so at best right now, and so we'll plug these stocks numbers in with just marginal changes really on the acreage, and then see where things go. But ceteris paribus is what ag economists say. Nothing else changing. Basically, we have 150 million bushels more wheat to deal with in the supply demand balance sheet this year than last, and it'd be a really nice time to have strong either strong wheat feeding, especially stronger exports coming in. But we'll see what the world market gives us or provides us or lets us have, I guess, in terms of exports coming down the road.
What impacts do we see from these reports coming out?
Well, I think the uh, overall situation for corn, especially, is that we're we have a little bit tighter supplies. I think on the corn supply demand balance sheet, as we mentioned, now instead of 1.75 billion projected carry out for this new crop marketing year, now just again, nothing changing on the usage side. We'd be down to about 1.36. A little more nervous about any weather problems that could happen in July and August. If we take these acres and instead of 181 million bushels, at basically giving us about 15.7 billion, if we leave all the usage unchanged, plug in 179, as I'd mentioned, you're down to about 15.5 billion bushels of corn. Ending stocks end up at just under 1.5. Stocks to use below 10, about 9.5. And prices, instead of the USDA's projection of about 420, at about 465. I was looking yesterday at what the futures are kind of telling us, given basis figures that we're looking at well, I guess the most recent national corn basis figures, plus what the futures are showing us for the kind of a 12-month marketing year. And that number actually came out projected at about $4.60. So here you have the USDA projecting 420. The future's really seeming to be looking at about 465, about 460, and about 460, and that matches up really closely to where we'd be if we got about 179 bushels per acre and about a 15.5 billion bushel corn crop. So we'll see. If we can, I'd like to mention a little bit about the wheat supply demand balance sheet. Uh, Again, we talked about how haven't seen lots and lots of impacts on that sheet, but the of all these different commodities that are out there, wheat seems to have the most moving parts. So we with the numbers that came out of that quarterly stocks report, we raised the ending stocks uh, moderately to 851 million bushels for that last marketing year, brought that into the new marketing year, a little bit lower harvested acres. Pardon me, that takes you down to uh, at about 1.890 billion bushels, and here the USDA was projecting 1.921 billion before that acreage figure. Everything else the same. We end up and shave ending stocks down a little bit, down to 877 million. But again, you look at wheat, we start to get excited on the wheat supply demand balance sheet, and we get towards 500 million or 600 million. We're still at 800 some. So still a ways to go. We don't know exactly what harvest is going to be, particularly up in the northern states, which, by the way, hard red spring wheat really, uh, uh, you have a strong trend to the lower side up there. We'll see where things go finally, but as it sits right now, it looks like corn probably gains the most out of this. Grain sorghum, a little bit tighter supply demand figures on tighter acreage, and we'll see where everything goes in coming weeks and months.
Dan, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Thank you very much, Shelby.
That was K-State grain economist Dan O'Brien. We're cutting to a short break now on Agriculture Today, but stick around because we'll be right back.